Welcome, everybody. Really excited that you took the time to join Tom Rossiter, CEO of RESAAS Services, Inc. Pretty excited about what happened. I'll do a preliminary, quick little intro just because I know you're not here to listen to me. Again, as most of you do know me. For those that don't, I'm Neil Simon. I run Investor Cube. We're financial consultants, work with private and public companies, put our own capital into every company. We will not represent the company unless we'll buy the stock ourselves. I am a significant shareholder, for the record, of RESAAS Services, Inc. And just wanted to be transparent on that. Very excited to work with Tom. We're a bit over a year into working together. And last year saw Tom release 16, 17 releases, but material releases. Made some fabulous deals with companies, benchmark companies, companies like Zillow. It's pretty well the biggest real estate company in the States, not company, but real estate platform. When people buy and sell houses, Home Services of America, Berkshire Company, I think the biggest real estate actual agents in the world. I think somewhere around 90,000 agents. And I won't go on and on, but these are the type of deals, type of people. These are massive companies. Makes you wonder why they're partnering and are doing deals with a company as small as RESAAS at this point. And simply it's because RESAAS has built a unique platform whereby they are the largest platform for agents in the world and dominate the US market with approximately 25% of all US agents registered on their platform. Tom, like a lot of great CEOs, and I have a tremendous respect for Mr. Rossiter, but like a lot of great CEOs, and I'm not here to compare RESAAS necessarily to Amazon, but if you look at some of the biggest, best players out there, they spend several years building their companies, market share, building their brand, building out infrastructure. It's exactly what RESAAS has done. There are over 700,000 agents. They built a tremendous company. They have all the partners in place. The focus in 24 and 25 will be monetizing the monetization of the asset, driving revenue growth. So like any of the great companies we've all seen, we spent time building it. And now obviously transitioning what's been built through economies of scale, which they've now achieved, building that and turning that into revenue. So we're hopefully over the next several quarters to start to expect to see Tom drive home more deals, expand the company, but also start to see that revenue growth. And on that happy note, thank you, Tom, very much for your time to meet us. We think it's great to get out early in the new year to get an update on one. Maybe you can tell us what kind of happened, because 23 was such a big year, and more importantly, again, what we can look forward to expecting and your focus in 2024.
Thanks, Neil. Good intro. Thanks for putting this together and inviting a good crowd here to the webinar. So looks like we're recording it too, so we can have an asset to send to those not able to join today. Thanks everybody for joining. Nice to see some familiar names on the list here. But as Neil said, and really the reason for the webinar is just a quick summary of all of the accomplishments that RESAAS managed to put together during 2023, and then outline our plans for 2024. And just to back up to the top just for a second, because there are some, I think, new names not familiar with our story joining today. Just do a kind of quick 2-minute refresh on everything we're about. RESAAS is a technology company. We're focused presently on the real estate industry, primarily in North America. We are publicly traded on the Toronto Venture Stock Exchange under the ticker RSS, and we have an American listing on the OTCQB, RSASF. We focus on residential real estate agents and their companies, and we've developed over the course of several years a technology platform that brings together the entire industry. So it's not a portal, it's not a marketplace, it's not for home buyers or sellers or the public. It's only for licensed industry professionals, licensed real estate agents and their brokers. And they use the platform that we've built to share content, to share opportunities, to share deals, to share leads, to generate income, and to share data. And we've managed to grow it over the years to over 600,000 real estate agents that use RESAAS today, most of which are in the USA. That's where we focus all of our time and energy, because the real estate sector there is perhaps most in need of help. And we've developed a model that is brokerage agnostic. So it means that wherever an agent hangs their license, whether it's with RE/MAX or Coldwell Banker or Sotheby's or Keller Williams or any independent, wherever they hang their license, they're welcome in to use RESAAS. So it's a come one, come all industry platform for licensed agents. And it's the place that they seem to go to share opportunities to collaborate with their peers, and it's become very sticky. We put out a lot of news in 2023. 2023, just as an industry, as relates to real estate, it was a slow year. Typically, so just some kind of points here. So typically in the US, there are between 5 and 6 million homes that sell every year. Last year, there were 3 million and something, 3 million and change. So very slow year for real estate. Obviously, the markets were impacted as well. We all know the reasons why. We all read the news. Despite that, RESAAS was extremely busy, and a lot of the key performance indicators, the KPIs that we track for how the platform is doing and how agents are using it, were hitting all-time highs. And we think that that's because when the real estate market is normal or perhaps struggling, agents have to work harder. And we've developed a platform and a technology that they can use to generate business. So that's encouraging from a product standpoint. We were very busy, lots of agents, lots of data. From a business standpoint, we secured a number of agreements that we've been working on for a number of years, months and quarters, and a lot of the efforts we put in came to fruition during last year. I think Neil mentioned we put out 16 news releases throughout the course of the year, some major, some medium, but illustrating the progress that the company continues to make. Now, that's a lot of information to receive over the weeks with all the news coming out. There were 3 standouts that we drew attention to in a recent news release, which I'm just going to touch on now, because I think it sets the foundation for the call today. One is we announced a deal with Zillow, which is the #1 real estate website in the United States. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Secondly, we announced a partnership with Home Services of America, which is a Berkshire Hathaway affiliate. They operate the Berkshire Hathaway brand. And they are America's largest real estate brokerage, a very innovative company. And we're excited to launch with that organization and continue to develop a very strong relationship there. And the last of the 3 that we drew attention to is a landmark deal that we put together with the National Association of Realtors, which is America's largest trade association. They have 1.5 million members, 1.5 million agents that they provide value and services to. And now we are partnered with that organization, which gives RESAAS access to the 1.5 million agents. So lots of great milestones achieved during the course of the year. And what we managed to accomplish throughout all of that is demonstrate continued growth and value of the platform. Neil, did you want to chime in here and dive into any of those specific items as it relates to the 2023 items that we accomplished? No, he doesn't. Okay, so we'll keep going. I talked about Zillow as the first item. I want to draw attention to that because I think it raised a few eyebrows. Zillow is a $10-11 billion company. It's the largest real estate portal in the US. It's where every American goes to look for homes. In Canada, we may not know Zillow. In America, Zillow is a household name. RESAAS developed a technology over the years that allows agents to share information, to share listings, to share data. And during an industry event last year, Zillow and other real estate portals were not able to get listings onto their website. And the way that real estate portals generate income is they need listings to sell ads against and generate traffic. That provided a catalyst for RESAAS to connect with Zillow to demonstrate what we've developed. And the output of that was an agreement that we put in place called a Broker Pro agreement, which allows for the RESAAS platform to connect and provide data to the Zillow platform. And specifically what that means is where an agent has a listing that is called a coming soon listing, which is pre-market. It's not yet in the MLS. It's not yet out on all of the portals for visibility. RESAAS is now the only channel that an agent can use to push their listing onto Zillow when it's a coming soon listing. So this is important because Zillow focuses on data. RESAAS has lots and lots of unique real estate data. We typically see listings hours, days, and sometimes weeks before they go on the market. And this new relationship, I think, is the start of something extremely exciting for the company. and it provides a way for RESAAS to send data to Zillow. RESAAS will monetize it by requiring that RESAAS agents are on a paid subscription to be able to send listing data into Zillow. We announced it in, I think it was October. The Zillow data team and the RESAAS team has been working to formalize the integration, which is now complete. It's ready to launch, and we'll be making announcements around that very shortly. And it just underscores the value of RESAAS gathering data and how much of the real estate industry hinges on data. And, you know, we're talking a lot about this, but Zillow just appointed a new director to their board. His name is Bill Gurley. He's regarded as one of the top deal makers in technology. And, well, Bill said something the other day that applies to RESAAS. He mentioned that famous napkin drawing that David Sachs did years ago, where he said that there would be network effects that really take effect in certain businesses. And by the way, David Sachs is one of PayPal's founding group. He also founded Yammer, which was an enterprise business network with a very similar concept to RESAAS that Microsoft acquired for $1.2 billion a few years ago. But this network effect drawing that's famous, you can look it up online, it's the thesis that RESAAS has followed. And for those familiar with networking effects and the theory behind that, we apply it under the banner of more partnerships that RESAAS secures brings us more agents, and they start to use RESAAS. The more agents that we have, the greater the coverage that we can provide, the more data and content we have across the map in the US and increasingly global. And the more coverage we have, the stickier the platform becomes and the more agents come back. So it's a flywheel that generates more and more momentum, all centered around the value of unique data. Okay, and the more data that we gather, and we've shown lots of growth in that department over the last year in particular, the more valuable RESAAS becomes. It's a relatively simple model. It's been very difficult for us to execute. It's taken a lot of time and a lot of industry knowledge that we've developed and gathered, but we've done it. And I think the caliber of the deals that we've been announcing recently, and with more to come, just underscore the position that RESAAS has built and secured for itself within the industry. Building on that, I just want to talk about another couple of announcements that we made that really just set the stage for what we're going to be doing through 2024. We announced a new addition to our leadership team in November, which was the appointment of somebody into the role of head of industry development. Their name is Joe Schneider. Joe is an American. He was formerly the director of global strategy at the National Association of Realtors. After that, he ran industry relations at Compass, which is a publicly traded real estate brokerage in the US, backed by SoftBank. And now he's with us. And he's joined us because he understands what the RESAAS platform is about. He sees the value in what we've created and how it applies to all corners of the real estate industry. And I can tell you from working with Joe now for a couple of months, there's nobody that we've met that knows the landscape globally than Joe does. And when he's seen what we've built, as he's understood it better since working with us more closely, there is a tremendous opportunity for RESAAS to take what we've built and done very well with in the US and take it global. I don't mean global as in Canada. I mean global as in certainly Western Europe and large parts of Asia, which don't have the kind of infrastructure or technology that we've developed for North America. So lots of big advancements coming in that front too. We've got a real powerhouse on our team now in Joe, and it's been already noticeable the number of times that we've been able to reach new prospects that are really some of the biggest organizations in real estate that we just couldn't before. Another item I'll draw attention to is our leap into commercial. And I'll use this as a transition point to talk not so much about what we accomplished in 2023, which I think is evident, but one of our main focus points going into 2024. Commercial real estate is completely different to residential real estate. Everything RESAAS has developed over the years has been residential focused. So it's listings with bedrooms and bathrooms. It's all of the homes and apartments and single family residences, that kind of thing. Commercial real estate, for those that know the sector, understand that the very best commercial real estate transacts off market. It's not on a website you can go to publicly. it's a very relational business, much more so than residential. And if you break down what RESAAS is, it's an industry platform only for licensed agents within that industry. So it's actually the perfect blueprint for a commercial real estate platform. That sector doesn't have anything like this. It's very siloed by brand. And so we understood this coming out the back of the pandemic. We did a lot of work to prepare a platform that was specific to commercial real estate, quite different in its look and with the data that it gathers. And we ran a pilot during 2023 in Los Angeles and got tremendous amounts of data. We realized that what we'd done to make the platform what we thought would suit commercial was still not quite perfect. So we kept talking to the industry. We met a number of executives at some of the larger commercial real estate firms. And we ended up appointing someone to RESAAS's advisory board who's a senior executive at Marcus & Millichap, which is one of the largest commercial real estate brokers in the US. They're publicly traded too. They and their network at that company provided incredible feedback, which allowed us to better develop the platform, to better suit the needs of their particular business and all the asset classes of commercial real estate that they service, and in turn, the wider commercial real estate industry. It's extremely complex. In residential, you have really, one or two types of real estate and then the same kind of fields across the board. In commercial real estate, as we've looked at this and prepared the platform for a couple of global prospects, there are sometimes up to 16 different asset classes: retail, triple net, factory, agriculture, hotel, that kind of thing. And each of those has their own set of data fields. So not as simple as we had imagined, but we learned a lot in the process. We got incredible feedback from some of the industry's leading brands. And we are excited to launch the commercial platform to a couple of brands coming up here in the early part of 2024. And we like this a lot because it leverages a good amount of the existing technology RESAAS had already developed. It takes us into a new vertical because we're seeing commercial real estate as quite distinct from residential real estate. And critically for the business, we're not planning on offering a free version of this platform. On the residential side, there's a free tier for agents and there's a paid subscription for agents. They can choose either, and it's a very similar model to LinkedIn. On the commercial side, we've learned that commercial brokers are not used to getting anything for free. They pay for everything. And I think the value that the platform we've developed, that RESAAS can deliver, more than justifies a subscription fee. So we like this a lot. It's going to be a pay-to-play model only. And we'll be excited to bring some commercial real estate news to this audience coming up here pretty soon. I'll touch on one more item, and then Neil, I think you're going to come back and chime in a little bit here. So we talked about 2023, we talked about transitioning into 2024, we talked about commercial just now. I'm going to talk about monetization too. This is something that the company's been readying to really dive into, but I'll summarize it as this. 2023 allowed us to put all of the pieces together. We worked hard, obviously, prior to that, building the network, growing our audience, becoming a name within the real estate sector. But it really was spring through the fall of last year where a lot of those big jigsaw pieces fell into place. And some of the announcements I referenced earlier really helped solidify that. And I think that's really evident to everyone from the quality of the partners that we signed and announced last year. And with this in place, now the company can start earning. So 2024 is the turning point to turn all of that hard work and expertise that we'd gained from these partners to start to earn and return value to shareholders. And when we brought on Joe, who's our head of industry development, he's a veteran of the industry. He already, in the last, 2 months since he's been with us, he has already developed a new white label enterprise licensing model that has been extremely well received by some of the more advanced prospects in our pipeline. And it's an example of how well we've done before. We built an incredible community. We built the biggest network of any real estate organization on the planet outside of the National Association of Realtors, who's now our best friend. But we did not have a really compelling enterprise version that was scaling through the type of prospects that we wanted. It's why we hired Joe. It's why we brought somebody on to really help with that whole initiative. And already in 2 months, the needle's really moved up and to the right. So we're excited to move that ball along the field and deliver some news to welcome some new customers to our stable very soon. And obviously with enterprise sales comes enterprise sales type price tags and associated revenue. So we're very bullish on that particular channel of our business. On the subscription side, which I mentioned before, we plan to increase the pricing of our subscription tiers that we have. And we're able to do that given the usage that we've seen increase on the platform. So again, going back to the networking effect I referenced earlier, the more usage, the more activity, the more content, the more unique data RESAAS gathers and we own. And it becomes more compelling and more valuable to the members of the network. So we've reached that point. It continues to grow. And we feel like we've reached a real inflection point now where we can more than justify the subscription cost. And again, an upcoming price change there as well.
It was a great year for RESAAS. The stock did reflect it. We have questions open. Please send all questions to info@investor3.ca. We had several questions come in. So Tom, first question for you. Last year, RESAAS announced a Broker Pro agreement with Zillow, which you did mention on this call before. Could you provide us some insight to why specifically a large cap company like Zillow was established was attracted to a company, a micro cap company such as yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on Zillow a little bit, and you know, Zillow is one example of a few different companies. Some we've already announced, some others we're working with now, where regardless of the size, it's a company that is extremely innovative and centered around the value of the data. Okay, so in the case of a portal like Zillow, or in Canada, the equivalent would be Realtor.ca, they need data to put listing pins on the map. Because if they have lots of listings on the map, they attract the consumer eyeballs. And when they have consumer eyeballs, they get traffic. And in the case of portals, typically they sell ads against traffic. So it all comes back to data. That's been a real common theme that we've seen. And I mean, just one note on that. You may have seen Salesforce is now running ads on TV around the importance of data, saying that data is the new gold. I think many of us have known that for a while. The ads, they have Matthew McConaughey in them. There'll be a good one coming up during the Super Bowl pretty soon, I'm told. But to me, this really underscores the value of data. So if Salesforce, which is what, like a $250 billion market cap technology giant, is making ads that simply talk about data and nothing else, then to me and to the team, it validates a commitment to data excellence. And that's what RESAAS really tries to exemplify. The key difference, I think, is that RESAAS plans to make its data available to everyone. And the Zillow agreement, which we announced in October, allows paying RESAAS agents to add a listing into RESAAS, which they are already doing. And by being on a paid subscription with RESAAS, they have the option now to push their coming soon listing, which is a listing that is not yet already on the market, directly onto Zillow. And that, to an agent in the US, is something that they've been clamoring for. And I won't go into the reasons why they haven't been able to. Suffice to say, it's to do with MLS regulations and a lot of red tape. But Zillow has got to where they've got by being a trailblazer, and they dominate the US real estate portal market. We've focused on doing right by the industry, on not being afraid to do things that might raise eyebrows, but what we think is best for agents and brokers. It's been our MO since the beginning. This is an agent platform that we've built. And I think now the stars have aligned through the summer of 2023 that we've now formalized in our first agreement that allows for RESAAS on the industry side. So let's say that's the B2B side, and Zillow on the consumer side, so the B2C side, to connect and to find a really meaningful and compelling way that's valuable to both companies to allow a real estate agent who we both serve to get tremendous value from the partnership that we've built.
Perfect. Yes, data has been a focal point for many companies and investors with stuff like artificial intelligence on the rise. So it's great to hear that RESAAS is positioned well for this. Next question, Tom. As driving revenue has been a primary focus for RESAAS, could you share which specific areas the company has been concentrating to achieve this goal?
There's a few. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned a few of them earlier. One is a bit of a shift in how we are working with some of the larger real estate organizations in this space. It's been interesting for us to develop a network, which is essentially an industry community, and then take that to large global real estate organizations and have them understand how they can plug their brand into it, right? Because typically larger organizations want to keep opportunities and leads and data to themselves. They don't want to share it. And we have an open platform that is all about sharing and collaboration. So we've made some changes very recently over the past couple of months that really still provide both, but they're quite distinct. And the analogy I would give, I mean, I mentioned Salesforce a moment ago. Lots of brands use Salesforce as a CRM tool to track their sales pipeline and customer relations. Lots of companies compete with each other, but they're all using the same platform. Each of their instances inside Salesforce is private, and there's no cross-pollination. We have the same technology, we have the same architecture, we offer the same benefit within the real estate sector. And so we've made some changes about how it's delivered and price points. And I think what we're able to do now, and again, this is a new opportunity that we've been able to develop by attracting an industry veteran here. We can demonstrate what we've built, we can demonstrate the value. I can tell you a lot of it comes back to business intelligence and insights. So when we talk to large companies, both on the residential side and the commercial side, and there'll be a lot of this coming up soon, they need to know how their network performs. They might have offices all across the country or around the world, but in many cases, these organizations don't know how their businesses send opportunities or leads or referrals to each other. And they should, because they should use that data to inform growth or M&A or a lot of strategy. And when it comes to agents and brokers sharing all of that, that's what RESAAS does. That's what RESAAS facilitates. It's what we capture. It's the data that we harvest and that we own. And so we've got a great partnership with Microsoft we've had for many years. We've boosted that recently to incorporate a lot of business intelligence and a little bit of AI to let us give some really compelling insights and reports to these larger firms. So there's a big change coming on the enterprise side, and we'll be able to talk more about that coming up here fairly soon. I mentioned too a change on the pricing that we're pushing through as well. And then the other major one is commercial, which I touched on a little bit earlier in the call, around having a new channel that's entirely focused on pay to play. So there's no free access. And we've been testing it, as I mentioned. I think we've landed in a good spot. The feedback has been tremendous. We've got some people nodding, and we're excited to launch that in the near future.
Thank you, Tom. The next question, with the recent announcement of RESAAS' platform becoming available in multiple languages and currencies, indicating a shift towards a global presence, could you outline the company's plans for an international expansion? Additionally, which countries are you focused on?
Okay, global. So we're based in beautiful Vancouver. We only focus on the US. And of the 600 and something thousand agents that we have, 90% are in America. That's generally been always the kind of percentage we've seen. The agents that we have that use RESAAS that are not in the US have typically come in, I think, either through word of mouth, but more likely they've been referred in by an American agent. So today we're in 160 countries around the world already. Some of those countries, we have 1 agent, 2 agents, 3 agents. Canada's a big one, got 25,000 agents in Canada, a few thousand in Western Europe. So we've got little patches around the world that we've never focused on, but we have a footprint there. With our new addition to the team, having formally run the global division at the National Association of Realtors, he built an entire global alliance network. And it was evident from that initiative about just how big the gap is between what they're seeking for tooling and platforms and data and what we have in North America. So part of the plan is to take RESAAS international properly with real energy behind it, and to see the kind of numbers globally that we see in the US. And I think, we're doing two things. One is we've reached a point now where we're so big in the US that we've focused our efforts on driving revenue within that cohort, because that's what we have right in front of us, and it's everything's lining up to do so. But there is a tremendous opportunity globally for us. We had one of our team at an event in Paris just before the end of the year, and it was specifically focused on global real estate as it relates to the difference between the US and the rest of the world as it interacts, as it transacts, and as it shares data. So again, data being the theme. Coming out of that, the opportunities were incredible. And it's really underscored the importance of the platform that we built, and that we build it and continue to develop it in a way that can be used on the global stage. When we built RESAAS, we actually built it with Microsoft in their labs down near Seattle, just down the road here. And it took a while to build, but we did it on purpose because we wanted to make sure that it was scalable, that it was enterprise grade, that the kind of companies that we're now talking to could feel confident running their teams on it, and that it would work internationally. It's not just a case of offering different currencies or different languages, which we do, but there's more to it than that. And I'm so happy that we made those decisions then to give us this foundation to allow RESAAS to go global. So we have a plan around certain markets and regions that we're looking at. There's tremendous opportunities right in front of us in a few of those. But I think it's going to come down to bringing it all back to North America, because a lot of the contacts we have, a lot of the partners we've developed and announced, and some more relationships coming soon, they all seem to either have a footprint in the US or they're headquartered there. And I think the natural first step that we can make is to go and expand our offering globally, but do so in a way that ties business opportunity between those regions and the United States. And that's where we're focused. This is really going to kick off in Q2, because we have a couple of things to land and announce and execute in Q1. But this is a big piece of our plan for the latter part of 2024 going into 2025.
Thank you, Tom. In previous communications, Tom, you mentioned the development of a RESAAS commercial platform. Could you provide an update on the progress and any notable advancements? I know you touched on it earlier, but can you provide us a little bit more?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, commercial, I mean, I talked a lot about it. Commercial is, I think we thought commercial would be easy because it's the same, like ostensibly it's the same thing. There's listings, there's buyers and there's sellers, and there's agents in the mix, but it's completely different. And we know from, RESAAS has worked really hard over the years to be an industry foundation and to not pick exclusives, not do deals with certain companies. Like we've tried to be very neutral and I guess like Switzerland, right? Just provide a very fair, level playing field for the whole industry to participate in. And as we were learning more about commercial, we tried to take that same approach. And so I've already talked about it. Maybe I'll give a different story. So when the pandemic was going on, we saw commercial brokers from different firms start to use RESAAS in its current form, its residential form. And as we reached out and said, this is only really for licensed agents, you can use it because you're licensed, but this isn't really for commercial brokers, it's residential focused. The feedback that we received pretty loud and clear was they don't care. There's nothing that they can use that's like RESAAS. They have to use email. And so the more that we scratched at this opportunity, the more we realized, wow, we've built something that is actually perfect for this industry. The problem we then encountered is the commercial real estate industry, for those on the call that know it, it's very much it's an old boys club. It's very much keeping content and opportunities, and in their case, inventory and listings right to their chest. And so we thought, well, that's a problem. How are we going to topple that kind of mindset? The great thing that the pandemic did for commercial real estate is that it's knocked down a lot of those walls. And so very few of those firms still have that same kind of private mindset like they used to. it's naturally opened up their way of thinking and their propensity to share. Perfect timing for us. So we've been working on it a while. The pilot we did last year was extremely eye-opening. We got some great feedback. We got some not so good feedback about how specific certain asset classes are within commercial real estate and that there's very little deviation from what they expect. And so we worked hard just to refine that. And I think we're coming out of that now. We were very fortunate to develop a relationship with some of the larger real estate firms in the commercial sector, some in the US, a few locally. And I think putting all that in the blender and shaking it, what's come out of that is a really powerful and I hope very simple offering that we can take to the industry at scale. Our plan is to do it firm by firm initially to build out some real good heat maps and footprints and usage. And again, center it around demonstrating the value of capturing data. And then there's a number we have in mind of those firms that once we cross it, we plan on doing an industry play and opening it up to everybody in slightly more of a community fashion. So good strategy built, lots of development work done and now complete. We've developed an incredible array of relationships at the highest levels in some of the biggest brands on the commercial side. And what I'd end with is, for those of us that read the news, commercial real estate's been having a tough time. They're extremely impacted by interest rates. And there are massive issues across the board with commercial real estate. A lot of it is centered around retail and vacancy and office space. Other sectors seem to be not so badly affected, but the underscoring theme to it all is they're in a bit of a bind. And it's at times when an industry is struggling, when everyone needs to double down and work harder and leverage tools, leverage data, leverage relationships to try and find business and find opportunities. And if we execute on the commercial side like we have on the residential side, RESAAS is that solution that the commercial sector has been seeking.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom.